I was managing one of the busiest restaurants in Canada, one of the managers of one of the busiest restaurants in Canada in Edmonton, and in West Edmonton Mall. And I was, at that point, I had a pretty significant crystal meth habit. And so I would be awake for days and days and not eat. I lost 37 pounds in a short period of time, like 5 weeks. And I was still going to work almost every day and working long hours and doing all this stuff. And so I was able to do that then. But then there's other times, like for instance, at that same job, where eventually it just caught up with me and everything fell apart. Like I was no longer able to, I stopped showing up for work, or I'd call in with these ridiculous reasons about why I couldn't come in and stuff like that. So I was able to be quote unquote high functioning for a little while, sometimes a year or something like that. But it would always fall apart in the end. And then by the end of it, it was, the points of being high functioning were getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the consequences of my actions were getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I think that was helpful, because what I was experiencing was the consequences of my actions. Like I was leading a bit of a secretive life as far as my using and stuff like that goes. So I wasn't really leaning on other people. So when I fell hard. And that, looking back, was a boon to me, because I didn't have other people cleaning up my mess for me. And so when I failed. I'd lose the job. I'd lose the apartment. I'd end up on the street. I'd do all these things. And I have to deal with it, have to live with it. And that to me was a huge, like it's an invaluable aspect to my story, because without it, it would have been that much harder to be able to get out if people kept shielding me from the consequences of my actions. The last sort of aha moment that got me to the point where I knew that I needed to make a change was a domino, and I hit it, I let it fall, and realized that all back there was this huge long line of dominoes that had been put in place by other people along the way, who, they were teachers, they were guidance counselors, they were parents, they were friends, they were any other people in my, like nurses and doctors and other people that I've encountered, were telling me that, and this is really cheesy, kind of, that I'm good enough, smart enough, that I'm worthwhile, that I have value, I'm a human being, and that I need to make changes, yeah, but that I'm worth it. So I went from having this sort of existence mentality. I said to myself, you need to either get busy living or get busy dying. That's from a movie, by the way, because, and this is a quote from one of my favorite bands, there's more to living than being alive. I was just alive, and I needed to start living. I was gonna have to go where people with real problems went, because I'm like, I don't have a problem, right? Like this whole tire fire of a life, it's not that big a deal, right? And I'm not like those people who have to go into treatment centers and have to go into recovery homes and all that stuff. I don't have to be like them, or I'm not like them. And so finally I was like, no, I'm like them. I'm exactly like them. And I needed to humble myself and go into a treatment center. And then I made my promise as I went into that I was just gonna shut up and listen and do whatever they say, even if I thought it was stupid. Especially if I thought it was stupid, because it was my best thinking that had got me to into the situation I was in. So clearly I didn't look at life clearly. And so I decided to get into that treatment center.